workout for you, week number 2, showing you the second workout that we do each week. I've got our back and tricep workout for us today. Again, we're going to be supersetting 2 exercises together, so we'll superset a back with a tricep. Our first back exercise we're going to do is a strict standard lat pull down, which I'll show you how to do, and then we're going to move on to do an exercise called JM presses. So we'll go right in here. We're going to start with a lat pull down. We've already warmed up. I always recommend clients that they warm up for 5 minutes on their favorite cardio equipment just to get some blood flowing. And then we've done a lighter set to get our lats, the specific muscle we're going to be working, warmed up and ready to go. Now we're up at the weight we're going to be doing for the exercise. Going for that 10 to 12 rep range for me, looking to build some muscle. So with a lat pull down, I like to recommend you throw your thumbs on top of the bar. So rather than grasping the bar all the way around, we're wrapping on top. It tends to take the biceps out of it a little more and make sure you're really working those lats. The other thing mentally I like to tell people is when you're doing the pull down, think of pulling with your elbows. That'll also get this moving more as opposed to thinking hand right under that chin, because that movement is going to make your biceps and your shoulders kick in more. Just kind of helps because a lot of people have trouble feeling it back in those lats, and that helps those kick in a little bit more. So we're going to go just a little wider than shoulder width. Grasping the bar, wrapping the thumbs on top, having a seat. I'm going to keep my chest up so that my abs stay nice and tight. I'm not going to arch back or swing or use momentum. And then I'm going to pull my shoulder blades down, and then I'm going to think of driving those elbows down right to the chin, and then coming back up. Trying to keep my traps out of it, so you see I'm not rounding forward here. Trying to keep that chest up, keep the shoulders back, right to the chin, and back up. So Emily's doing a lat pull down too, going for a higher volume. She's getting all the way up to 20. Still keeping that same form though. She's keeping her core tight, shoulders down, thumbs wrapped on top, driving with those elbows. Looking good. Our second exercise is what's called a JM press. It's basically 3 movements in one. We're going to do a skull crusher, and then we're going to do kind of an overhead movement, and then we're going to pull it to our chest and do a close grip bench press. And then we're going to repeat. So it'll go skull crusher, up, overhead, pull to the chest, and then bench press up. Combo movement for our triceps. So we're coming forehead, up, overhead, pulling right to the chest, keeping those shoulders back so we're not rounding forward, and then bench pressing a close grip bench press for the triceps. So skull, up, over, chest, bench. One more time, skull crusher, overhead, chest, and bench. All right, so skull crusher, up, over, chest, bench press. Overhead, making sure the elbows stay glued to your sides when you do that bench press. That way it'll isolate those triceps a little more instead of the chest and the shoulders taking over. Nice. We're going to do next a bent over barbell row, and we're going to do it a little higher than maybe you've normally seen. Typically when you're doing a row, you kind of hit belly button or just right under the chest, a little higher. We're going to go basically the reverse of a bench press. So think of a flat bench press, you'd be coming to mid-chest, 90-degree bend with the arms and then pressing back out. We're going to do that same thing, but bent over doing a row. And then we're going to superset it with some overhead rope extensions, which we're going to mimic, if you've seen the exercise before, an overhead dumbbell extension where you're cradling the dumbbell here and coming back and up. So we're going to do that same movement with the ropes. We'll jump in here. I'm going to grasp the bar just like I would for a bench press. Like we said, a little wider too than maybe you normally would for a bent over barbell. For me, when I come to 90 degrees, that means about pinkies on the little rings that are on the Olympic bar. So that works for me. Find the spot that works for you, looking for a 90-degree bend. Unracking the bar, keeping my chest up so I'm working properly. Weight in the heels, tipping forward, and like we said, we're going to row a little higher. Flex those abdominals, right up mid-chest. Pinch the blades together at the top. Emily's got the same movement going, keeping the back nice and flat, flexing the abs. Arms are coming up to 90 degrees. Hitting that mid-chest. All right, we're going to do our overhead extension. So grab the rope with your pinkies touching the little rubber heads at the end, and then stand up nice and tall. coming down, stand up so that your core is nice and tight, just past 90 degrees, straighten up overhead, and repeat. Keeping the hands separate, so they each have to stabilize themselves. We're not touching them together. All right. Standing up nice and tall, straight down 90 degrees, up overhead. Hands are staying apart. All those secondary muscles get to kick in. Isolating the triceps. Our last two exercises we're going to do a one-arm bench row, where we're putting our knee on the bench and our hand on the bench, and then rowing with one arm. And then we're going to head to the cables. We're going to do a cable kickback for our last tricep exercise. So our bench row, we're going to put our knee on the bench and our hand on the bench, and then we're going to kick this leg back so that our body can stay nice and parallel to the ground. So I don't want you tipping this way or rounded over or crunched up here. Keep that leg back so that the body and torso are nice and parallel to the ground. We do want to make sure that we get full shoulder blade movement here. So we are going to get a little bit of protraction here, but we don't want to swing up this way. We don't want to get that torso rotation, because then I'm just using momentum in order to get the dumbbell up instead of actually working my lats and my rhomboids. But we do want some shoulder blade movement because we want that full retraction. Thinking of if you're doing a two-arm row, we're pinching those shoulder blades together. So we want that same retraction of that shoulder blade. So I'm going to grab that dumbbell and row. Emily's doing the same thing, knee on the bench, hand on the bench, body staying nice and flat, rowing right, so that the hand kind of in line with the belly button, just about when you're done, a little bit higher. And then notice that shoulder blade movement coming all the way back, but without using the momentum of the body rotating to throw that dumbbell up. Keeping it nice and controlled, core staying tight. Lastly, we have our cable kickbacks. So you've probably done before, if you haven't done this exercise before, dumbbell kickbacks, which is where you'd be holding your dumbbells bent over and kicking back, or even in a similar movement where your hand and knee on the bench like our rows and kicking back. Instead of using a dumbbell, today we're going to use a cable. So it's hooked all the way up to the bottom. You don't even need an attachment on it, because we're actually just going to grab it right on the little knob that's attached. We're going to get into that same position. So we're bent over, keeping our core tight, body nice and flat to the ground. I'm going to lift my elbow up so it's glued to my side, and then I'm going to kick my arm straight back, making sure we're not rotating. The other main thing that tends to happen with this one is that elbow starts moving, because then you're really just working the shoulder, and you're getting nice momentum, which isn't isolating the tricep. So we're going to glue that elbow right into our side, and just isolate the tricep. Try to straighten that arm at the top, and kick straight back. All right, same movement. Gluing the elbow right there, so we're not working the shoulders, the posterior delt, we're not rowing. We're just kicking back, straightening the arm, isolating our triceps. And remember, breathe. Thanks for joining us for week number 2. This was our back and tricep workout. Next week, we'll be highlighting our shoulders and abdominal workout. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you then. Okay, so, you're already taping, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.